they have an allure. There's a certain aspect of what they're all about that says to me, yeah, let's actually try this. I know it's scary for most people, and everybody goes, you can't do it, it's draconian. I just got yesterday a 15-page paper from Legislative Council, and I still have not, to tell you the truth, been able to thoroughly go through it. It's an update analysis of these three. And at the end, I mean, you look, if you just scan it quickly and look at the end, it still is, you know, here's what will happen, it's blood in the streets and end of civilization as we know it. But if you look at it and see this process of, I mean, see that most of it is not something that would happen next year. I mean, it's a evolving end of civilization. Then it does seem to me to be a little more palatable, because let's assume some of these dire consequences loom out there larger than they even do now after the passage. We still have, next year, frankly, you can address anything on the ballot. Because it's I mean, anything. You can address any Tabor-related issue, even on the odd year ballot. So I think, although I have qualms about it, certainly, I have to look at this really carefully to determine exactly what will happen next year, and then the next year, and then the next year, because these things all are phased in over a period, sometimes 4 or 5 years, at least as I could read them. And there is I certainly admit to you, a sort of a philosophical pull, because it's been my experience anyway, that the only way you actually get government under control is by reducing the flow of dollars. I'm not an anarchist, you know, and there are some things that have to be done by the state, but it is so hard to get the state to look at those things that don't have to be done, but are. I'll give you an example. There are at least a dozen increases in Medicaid services that came about as a result of the things that the legislature and the people did when they passed the cigarette tax. These things are not demanded by the federal government. They are not mandated. These are individual decisions made by Colorado lawmakers and or the people, because there were some things in that cigarette tax. We've gone, now, I don't think you can attribute all of the increase in Medicaid recipients to this, but a substantial number came about as a result of it. We went from 260,000 people eligible for Medicaid to almost doubling, 480-some thousand today. Now, as I say, recession plays a role in that. People lost jobs, have lost homes, and therefore become Medicaid eligible. But also, there are a whole bunch of things we don't have to do. Now, have you ever heard anybody suggest that we can eliminate those? I mean, even though you could, it is not mandated by the federal government. So the only way you get to that point is when you are pressed to the wall financially. Will we ever really deal with para unless we are pressed to the wall? The legislature supposedly, remember, fixed that. Well, believe me, they didn't fix it. Well, $20, $30 billion deficits looming out there for para. I mean, deficits, I mean unfunded liability. So I like the idea of doing something that absolutely presses you to the wall in order for you to come up with things that would never, ever come up otherwise. So, but as I say, we have to just really look at it and see what happens next year. And you know, I have no qualms about coming back to people in a year and going, look, it's looking like this is going to happen here in this way, and did you really want to do this? And you go back to the ballot box in a year and deal with it. It's not that scary, is my point. I know that if you implemented every single thing that was in there tomorrow, it would be unacceptable. Well, I wouldn't vote for it. But that is not what is, it's not what's in there.